All right. Better late than never, right?
Yeah. Monday came a little bit longer. It took longer to get here this week.
I don't know. I got the merits for saying we're going to be late. So.
From who?
I don't know who.
Well, whoever it was, tell them to F off. Power and Speed, we are 908-751-0211.
And like us on Facebook and share us on Facebook or iTunes, whatever you want.
Yeah. Somebody's phone's on. Yep. That would be you, Todd. Congratulations. Today you get
well,
the
I had to take
prize.
the heat off of Tom, you know.
Killing.
All right, so we were alerted that last week's episode published with pre-show stuck in it. That was my fault. There was a lot of editing that had to fix that one up.
If you would have edited the show with a Cathedral Port head, it would have been fine.
You know, those idiots are still going. They're still going.
You know what the key
They don't understand.
No, not only
what the key word there was?
What?
Those idiots. That's two words.
True,
but yeah. Yeah.
How could I just... This just boggles my mind that anybody could think.
But it's not only ours. It's on another site that there's
No. You don't understand. This crap between the two different heads.
Right.
Look, I might have said this on the show before, but I'm going to do it again.
Do it.
Millions of years ago, when people first started wandering the earth.
Yep.
You know, like a step above the apes and the monkey types or whatever. Yep. Like when we went to what is it, Cro-Magnon or whatever. I don't know. Not a history guy. Wasn't around then.
Crows and magnums?
Yeah.
Whatever. Something.
When
Neanderthal?
When these people were wandering around on the earth. Yep. One day, this big shiny thing was noticed in the sky, and it made them warm. And then it went away, and then this big white thing came up. And then it got colder, and it got dark. Did they know that was the sun? No. Did they know that was the moon? No. So what did it have to be? They came up with a reason. Well, that's a god. That's the sun god and the moon god. Because we have no way to explain this.
Right.
So these people see a Cathedral Port that made real good power because the LS was new when the LSs first came out.
Yeah.
What differentiated that between a small block Chevy and the new small block Chevy, the LS1?
The Cathedral Port.
Got to be it.
Had to be.
Ah!
Yeah.
That's what happened.
The angels are singing. We got some inside info that we can't talk about. Ha. But
we can talk about why it was done, can't we?
Oh, yeah.
We just can't talk about where it came from.
No, we can't talk about that, where it came from. And we also got some information from somebody else that's pretty high profile that says that whole thing's stupid, that nobody would believe that you got that from this source.
Trying to say it's malarkey?
No. You're looking at me like you're confused.
Yeah, now I'm confused.
Okay. Never mind then.
But I do know that I guess Tom found it out, and I actually had it confirmed.
Yeah.
That the reason that port was shaped the way it was why, Tom?
To aim the injector.
To help what, Tom?
To help spray the back of the valve.
And what were they really hoping to help with it?
I don't know. I don't even remember.
It was emissions.
Yeah, emissions. Right. So, and then, injector technology and allowed them to not worry about the emissions anymore. So they went back to the square port.
I know.
What are you trying to say?
And they even put it on trucks.
I know.
I mean, you would think a truck needed all its power down low. Oh, my God.
And, these guys, they can't, and I know half of them are just poking because they think it's funny, but you can read the people that really think they're diehards. And
Mogul's probably crying right now.
Well, no, he's backpedaled substantially.
Oh,
he's backpedaled.
Well, he's still mad right now to the point that he's got a tear in his eye.
Because the benefit of this podcast is everything that I have said, for better or for worse, is immortalized in the inner tubes.
Yeah,
you can find it. I have never once said cathedrals were no good.
Nope.
And I have never once said TFS heads were no good.
Nope.
I have never once said that a TFS 245 could not make more power than an LS3 port. Never once said that.
No.
So somehow or another, and what really happened is the story, the argument changed.
Once people got into cover their ass mode, it morphed into all kind of ridiculousness.
Yeah. The whole reason that this post of this mystical car that got a head change that lost 191 horsepower.
Yeah.
That all happened because Mogul, yes, Rich, this whole fucking mess and calamity is your fault. So that
probably makes him happy.
It probably does. That's right. That'll
they're saying my name.
Yeah, he's all excited. He's running around. Yeah. He's got a little chubby going.
Yeah,
His wife's like, "What happened, Rich?
Yeah,
where'd that come from?
That never happens.
I haven't seen that in 20 years." It all started because I said something that I wanted to use a rectangular port head over the factory Cathedral had.
Right.
And that's how this all got started.
Everybody lost their mind.
Now it got turned into LS7 versus TFS LS7 versus TFS 245. That wasn't even the basis of the conversation.
No.
The basis of the conversation was confirmed by a well-known guy.
A bazillion of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. But a well-known guy on Facebook said, well, if you got a stock LS3 to a Cathedral, the LS3 is going to make more power. Yeah. But he did say with work, the Cathedral could be better than the LS3.
Of course it could.
I think that ends everything right there.
Well,
it does.
It should. It ends it for us, but it won't end it for.
It didn't end it for us because it wasn't anything for us.
I know.
We know what's right.
I know,
and we're going to use what we think is right.
Yep.
And
we're right.
And I got to tell you, I'm going to say his name, John Bulli, or however you say his name, Little John.
Bulli.
Let me just say something.
Baba Bulli.
I was very respectful talking about him.
Yeah.
I never minimized what he's done. I told him flat out that I just did not believe the validity of the test with data. And then he turns around and says nice things like, I'm too stupid to do this, doing a podcast. He made a reference to a manufacturer and that's why Head failed.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't need to get into that one, but we know what he was talking about.
Yep.
And then he said my car would be a slug.
Yeah.
Hey, John. Fool. This is directed right to you, buddy.
Fool.
Right to you with lots of love. If you really think that your opinion matters that much to me, then you might need to go see a shrink because I really don't give a fuck. I really don't care. No. And we'd never
even heard of this guy.
No, never even heard of this guy. Oh, that's a Little John, Kim. Last Little John I knew was a comp eliminator racer who was somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
Not this guy.
No.
So the way that I look at this, I flat out said what I would bet.
Yep.
And it runs the range. Hit your pocket, go wherever you want. And he says, I don't have to because I know. That's great. I'm glad you feel that way. But you're not going to run people down and then run away.
No.
The challenge is out there. Get your money up. We'll duplicate that test. We have somebody to do it. We'll even use a blower.
Sure.
We'll do exactly what you said, and I'll fly your fat ass on a plane out there.
Is he fat?
That's what I heard. I don't know. It just sounds good.
Yeah. Well, if he's Big John, he'd be smaller. If he's Little John, he'd be bigger.
Yeah, but you can be called Little John because you're a great big fat person.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like tiny. He's 6'9", tiny.
Yes, exactly. So whatever. I don't really want to talk about this anymore. We're going to do the car the way we think. No, John, the car is not going to be a slug. And no, it's not going to make as much power as some of the stuff you've had on the dyno. I don't care. It's built for a purpose. And if everything goes wrong for me tomorrow on the Power and Speed podcast, my life's just fine. None of you guys are buying anything from me.
Still going to be okay.
Absolutely. Still going to be okay.
Yep. Didn't we just see it? All right, I know it's over, but weren't we just watching a video of a car with the same turbos, say a little bit bigger engine, but made similar power, and not even the new turbos that we have?
Yes.
And oddly enough, that guy chose to put square ports on it.
I know.
Crazy.
I know. It was funny. We both watched it and said, wow, if he put Cathedrals on that, he'd be a lot faster.
Yeah, he would have won a 20.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not good form, but once that guy started saying stuff personally about me, and saying stuff about other manufacturers
and what you know and how much
and what
testing,
I know,
he's got no idea about testing.
Whatever. That's just the kind of people we deal with.
Shit, I might have spent more time in your dyno room than he's ever done.
And again, I was never minimizing what he did.
No.
And there was a very famous racer, very high profile guy that I really can't mention his name. I'd like to, but I can't.
Okay.
And he had said, of course, so-and-so knows a lot about what he's done. And my father said, well, why would you say that? And he goes, he's blown up more shit than anybody I know.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, so when you blow up all that amount of stuff, you got to learn something.
Gotta learn something.
Well,
that's true. Well, you would think. Did you have some kind of nugget of brilliance, Tad?
No,
he's probably blown up a lot of shit, and he ain't smarter than he was yesterday. So he's the same person he was.
No.
He brought some good pizza, though. All right, so looks like we have a guest. We didn't even, let's bring him in.
Well, you want to talk about him first and then bring him in, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can. We didn't even announce it in the beginning of the show because we were working on another show. But
we had another problem, and we didn't have a long story.
Yeah,
but we're
this here. Is a friend of mine. I've known this guy for a really long time. Dave Kogan racing engines. Hemi Dave is what he's affectionately known as. So let's bring him in. Dave?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, man.
Right.
How's everything?
Good, man. Good.
So Dave is from Long Island, and he's been doing engines for as long as I could remember. Dave, give us the short version of how you got to where you're at, man.
Well, basically, I mean, my parents were, even when they were dating, were always into racing and stuff. And in '67, my parents had bought a brand new Hemi GTX, which my mother had actually raced through the years. Blah, blah, blah. Sold the car eventually and stuff like that. But it was always, my father was always the tinkerer with the car. And so kind of, basically I was 7 years old when I was starting to put together like my first Hemi engine, and that's where it started.
And I'm sure the listeners would love to know that you actually still have that car.
Correct. Yes.
But there is a little story behind it.
Yes, that car, back in, I would say 73, right before I was born, my parents had, from Brooklyn, moved out to Long Island. And of course, it needed money, and they wanted to fix up the house a little more, and had sold the car. And in I'd say around 83-ish, my father said, "You know what? I want to build a car I want a car what I had. I want another GTX." And looked around, and the only thing he could find was a 440 GTX. So he ends up buying that car, getting it repainted, and we were at a car show with the car. And my father said, "You know what? I'm going to walk around. I want to build that car into what I had. I want the Hemi GTX." We were walking around this car show. Let's say this is now 84, 85. And my dad's going up to people he sees a couple of people have a Hemi car. He goes up to this guy, and actually I remember his name was Dave Schwartz, and he had this Hemi Charger. And my dad says, "Hey, you have an extra motor for sale. I want to build a car, what I had." And my father takes out a picture of the GTX, shows the guy, goes, "Here's the car I had." And the guy goes, "I have that car sitting on your driveway." He goes, "You're Butch Kogan," because the car still had the Certa card, which is on the radiator support with the owner's name, like a credit card looking thing.
Yep.
You bring the car to the dealer. And after about almost a year or so, he had sold that car back to my parents.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And so it's still in like original form, Dave?
Yes, all original.
Wow. You got to send, if you don't mind, send us a picture so we could put it on the on our Facebook website.
Got to be rare that it survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even I have pictures from which back from '67, '68 as well, like my mom with all trophies, and which I still have a lot of those trophies as well.
That's really cool.
Cool.
Super cool. So so I know you got into cars that early, and you're building engines young, and but then fast forward, I don't remember where we met, but I know you from when you worked at Barton's.
Correct. Yep.
I don't even remember the year that was.
94-ish, I believe.
That carries an awful high level of credential.
Yeah.
To say that's where he worked.
Yeah, that was the first place.
Even if you were a guy sweeping the floors, you got a little bit of street cred for working there.
No doubt. So, did you go there because of the Hemi connection?
There was a very interesting connection there. A longtime friend of my father's, he grew up together in Brooklyn, was Al Kirschenbaum.
Yeah,
and he's a freelance writer for a lot of magazines and stuff. And he moved out to California, still writing, and he was doing a lot of articles on Ray. And I got, of course, just like every other kid, they're into the Mustang, the 5.0s as well. And obviously my Hemis were my true love, but I got into Mustangs also. And so I talked to Al here and there, and then he said, "You know what?" He said, "Ray's looking for somebody that's, into, the Hemis." And then it's cool because the Mustangs back then were coming up and stuff. And he goes, "Man, that's the future." And so I was still in college, and I ended up just finishing up that semester and moving out there to Pennsylvania.
Yep. And a funny story. So I go to see Ray one day, and you know where this is going, right, Dave?
I'm laughing.
I know. So I pull up, and there's a Mustang outside, and it's got New York plates on it. and the plates say, I hate number 8, everyone. And this is the license plate he had on his car. So I go in, we meet him, talk and everything. It's just hilarious. Well, fast forward to a couple weeks ago, I was having a fucking terrible day. And I'm driving somewhere and saying to myself, I fucking hate everyone, right? So I called Dave and I texted him. I'm like, Dave, send me a picture of that license plate. I know you got it on a wall somewhere. Some shit like that. I'm paraphrasing. And sure as shit, he sends me a picture of it because I knew he would still have it. So true story.
Yep.
I don't know if you can get that today.
My workbench.
Yeah, he's got over his workbench.
Get it.
Yeah. We're trying to say safe space?
Yeah, safe space. You can probably get one that says safe space.
No, I'm sure.
Get one that says, I hate everyone.
I'm sure. So you worked at Barton's for a while. Then you, I know you went to PG for like a year. And then did you and Scotty both go to Pat's?
Yes, Scotty ended up there when his parents had moved to Florida to open a shop up there. So he didn't want to go, or he was waiting. I don't remember exactly what he, didn't want to go right away, or whatever the reasoning was. He was planning on going, but so he, that's how Scotty had come over to Pat's. Yeah.
So that's Pat Musey, that the second place this guy worked, for the listeners.
Yeah, another high level guy.
Yeah, pretty high level.
Between those two, that's a hell of a resume. So
you learned from some pretty good people, and you got experience on some pretty high end stuff. I mean, at Pat's stuff, they built as high end a Top Sportsman and Pro Mod stuff that you can kind of buy. And Barton did the highest end Hemi stuff you could buy. So now you're on your own. How do you like it?
I like it. It's been about 10 years now. Well, when I say 12 years now. And, up until Pat had moved, I still was going there and, here and there. And, if he had a little weird thing or backed up, I would go give him a hand as well. So I like it on my own, the going home worrying about things is, not the fun part of owning a business. Usually when you work for somebody else, you just go home and, it's the problem's on them. But no, it's good. I mean, when I was at Pat's, I had so much pressure as well that, it just kind of got used to it.
Yeah, you did. Cause I remember, and I can say this, you were one of the main guys there to do kind of anything that he needed, right?
Sure. Yeah.
The pressure of this, I've talked about it. I don't think if somebody really doesn't care and they don't have that, maybe, I don't want to say that competitive spirit, but if they either don't care, like they're punching a clock, or they don't have the competitive side to them. I mean, the worst days for me were ever the days that all the tracks opened.
Yeah. I
was always, on pins and needles. It was terrible. And like you're sitting there looking at the phone, like in a dark room, like in a fetal position being, oh no. It sucks.
So you had your own safe space back then?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
I did.
I like it. I'm sure you don't feel that way, Dave, right? Your stuff never has any problems.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not worried about my stuff. I'm worried about the idiots that are using our stuff. That's what I worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have actually talking about a issue back when I first started at Pat's. The first 2 days, I'm there. I'm just this young kid, and there was a FE Ford that nobody there wanted to do. I just started there, and then everybody's like, you know what? You're the new guy. You're going to put this thing together. I'm like, okay. And I put this thing together. And that weekend, I go to Englishtown, and I happen to see the guy, and the guy's freaking out. The engine's messed up, and it has no oil pressure, blah, 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 freaking out at me. And I'm like, I just started. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting fired, The guy ends up bringing the engine back Monday. We take it apart. What ends up happening was, it was not my fault, but what happened was it's a FE Ford, and they have the big core plugs in the crankshaft, and they're not screwed in. It's a bang-in core plug.
Yep.
And when the crank, nobody thought about it. When the crank got sent out to heat treat, shrunk them up, and they were weak. So once this thing was running for a little bit, just from pressure, centrifugal, they flew out.
And laying in the bottom of a pan and big leak.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So but it was just funny. I'm like, nobody wanted to do it. It's like I was, they set me up.
That's funny. But you did everything there, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got there, then I was doing a lot of machine work, and Pat was sending out the balancing to get done. And I told him when I worked at Ray's, I learn how to balance. So I said to him, hey, man, why don't you just buy a balancer? We'll do it in-house. There's no reason to send it out and have to wait. So that's what we did. So I was doing balancing, a lot of piston work and stuff like that. And still some small assembly. Pat at the time was doing a lot of those 350 horse engines. And then after a couple of years, he was like, you know what, man, I just need you on assembly. Don't worry about anything. And obviously in balancing, because I was the only one that knew how to balance, which isn't rocket science, but
no, but somebody's got to do it. But yeah, I remember you in the assembly room, with with anything that was there, high end stuff, Edelbrock stuff, whatever. People may not know, Pat did Edelbrock big blocks.
Pat was involved in the Edelbrock big block.
Yeah, for a long time. Mm-hmm. You must have screwed a couple of them together, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely. And even early days of the LSs. I mean, 97. GM had that's through Pontiac. That's when Pat had gotten that red Trans Am. They had the streetcar to do some of the testing on, and we had done one of the first strokers and stuff like that. So it was pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. Me and Trip Manley actually came out there to help you guys out with some of the testing.
That's right.
Yeah.
100% correct. 20 years ago.
Yeah. God, we're old. Well, I'm old. You're not old yet, bastard. So what do what's your? Well, we're going to get through your career credentials in a minute because I want to talk about some cool stuff. But what do you specialize in now? Like, what do you like to do, or what's your big thing?
Well, right now, I mean, everybody's on the LS kick. They're sold on these. You don't need to buy 900-inch Pro Mod engines. That you could just buy a $500 junkyard LS and make more power than that. And that's what the LSs are. I mean, just super big for me. Turbo stuff, modern Hemi stuff, big as well. And that's really where it's at right now. Where I would say 75% of the business is.
Well, on the modern Hemi stuff, how are those things? Like, are there weak points? Are there fine points that have to be addressed in them? I mean, how have they been when you start to lean on them like people would lean on the LSs?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of some issues, here and there people having, but I'll be honest with you, I think other than rotating as far as head and block strength and stuff like that, I think they're, from the levels that I've been at with them, just over 1,000 tire and stuff like that, I mean, I've had no issues. I do a lot for, there's a shop out here in Long Island that they contract all the engine work to me. I do for them. And, I mean, they have people pounding on them things, and I like them, honestly. Just the only thing that I think that for more people don't use them is they're not as available as, your $500, 5.3s and stuff like that. They're just, the cores are so expensive to get your hands on one.
Yeah.
But I feel that they're structurally, I mean, I think they're a really good engine.
And the cylinder head's really good, right?
Oh yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I've never really I'll probably say this and I'll get, kind of criticized for it, but they probably could be actually a little better, I would believe.
Well, I mean, everything could be better, but I'm just curious, what shape is the intake port?
It's a rectangle.
Oh, it is?
Square port. I didn't say rectangle. I take that back.
That's all right. That's all right. But
it's actually a square port. And when I meant better, I apologize. I meant better over the LS. I believe that they can run.
I think they are
production stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that. But there's no point at the top of the
early ones.
No, none of them. It's definitely a square port. It's not pointed at the top.
No, it's square.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I had to get that in for my own.
Oh God.
So. I was telling these guys in the studio before, you did, I know you got a bunch of cars we could talk about, but you did the original Pump Gas Nationals the first time they ever ran it.
Yep.
And.
Yep. So.
Go ahead. Good. You tell the story.
Yeah. So, for kind of like a thing, my good friend, who I'm still great friends with, Rob Schmidt, says, hey, one of his other friends was reading Hot Rod, and they got this pump gas race, and the rules and this and that. He said, I'm gonna enter. Hey man, go for it. And we ended up getting picked and going there. And Man, great experience. The car was still carbureted, and the first year you were not allowed to open the hood or even the hood or anything. They gave you 15 gallons of gas, and you're sealed up, do the drive, go to checkpoints, and fastest 3-pass average. That was the winner. And man, I'll never forget what an amazing experience. I was still at the time working at Pat's there full time, and so I went there, and man, they were counting, going 10th place, 9th place, and I was like, man, we didn't even place, and then everybody's like, no, we got it. And then I was like the second place. And then when they mentioned Rob's name, we were just,
lost your mind.
It's an experience. Yeah. I mean, the first ever pump gas, drags was, it was just a great experience.
And how tight, well, like how close was it? Did you win? I mean, was it close or did you?
It was, believe it or not, I don't remember the exact, but I know the car ran real slow. It was only, I think the average was like a 930 something maybe, or 940s. What happened was it was carbureted at the time, and the fuel pressure regulator for the nitrous system went bad, and the thing had like 3 pounds more fuel pressure than we normally ran, and we saw it in the gauge in the cow, but there's nothing you can do because you open the hood or anything, you're disqualified.
Yep.
So that's why right after that, I told Rob, we're going fuel injection because that's it. I can plug in my core. If we're not allowed to open the hood, I can make changes, no problem.
Yep.
And that's why the following year we came back fuel injected.
But it was just an NA pump gas big block.
No, it was on nitrous.
Yeah, sorry, nitrous.
Yeah, nitrous big block, 5-speed transmission. And the funny thing is too, you're not allowed clutchless transmissions. And Rob's car definitely does not have one, and because he drives it around, he literally drives the thing. And at the second year, David Freeberger said to me, I believe it was him or one of the other guys from Harvard, like, hey, man, people are complaining, from the first year you guys had a clutchless. I'm like, no. I said, I'll show you data from a run. After he makes a pass, I'll download it, from the EFI data, or strap yourself in and go for a ride with him and watch him, clutch, pedal in the thing.
Yep.
And Rob is he's actually a really good driver. And
that's cool and ballsy just to go there with a stick car.
With a stick car, period.
Yeah. So cool. And it was a big Chevelle, right? Like a 67 Chevelle?
67 Chevelle.
Yeah. Nice.
Factory console still in it, factory seats. And,
so cool.
It's just a real car.
That's pretty fast. I mean, that's not slow. How fast is the car gone? Like, right.
Oh, I mean, last time we've been out, it was a 860 car.
Okay.
Which isn't, for now, for some of the other pump gas stuff, which the people don't like to talk about how fast they've been. It's like kind of a such thing that I've done. It's a little on the slower side, but I actually have the engine here now where I'm going to go through it the first time since 2005 that the thing's been out.
Wow.
Yeah, so he actually just dropped it off last week. I'm going to freshen that thing up for Super Chevy at Maple Grove. That's
great. So it stayed together, and he probably just drives the shit out of it and just has fun.
Oh, yeah. Definitely one of the scariest people to go back in the day was to go for a ride in the street was definitely you wanted to hold on.
Yeah, I bet.
It's funny, like every time we talk about how fast something goes now the qualifications that get put in front of it, well, it's not real fast, it goes 850s.
Yeah, I know.
Because things have happened so quickly with the turbocharging and injection and the late model technology overall.
Yeah.
You've got things like that Dodge Demon, that makes over 800.
Yep.
From the factory. We knew that was all possible because I'm sure you could make a Hellcat make that.
Well, there's one with a rod knock already on YouTube. Yeah. First person to blow it up.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I love it.
Well, it's just where we are today. It really is quite an amazing evolution from going back even from something like 2005.
True. Dave, you're also involved in a couple of your buddies' cars. One of them I know is a twin turbo Regal. And that 57 Chevy, that's badass. How fast is that Regal? You just went really fast with that thing recently. Didn't you text me or something?
Yeah, those guys, that's another thing they kind of like to, those guys are trying to do a little grudge thing with, but.
So it went 1020?
Yeah. But, it's the Regal, again, man, like you guys are saying, the technology is amazing. And, this thing, the Regal has power steering, Hydro Boost brakes. I went I was at ACO testing about a month ago, and I mean, this thing had 8.5-inch wide front tires on it, everything, like a street car. And I went out, and I could not believe how fast. I had on the dyno, and it was making some real good power, and I knew it was it was ready to go. And I went to the track, and my second pass, I was like, wow, I was real happy. And
everybody's hating us right now. I forgot about the Regal. Yeah. So
yeah, and the same thing. It's amazing. I mean, this thing's got a hydraulic roller cam and stuff like that, and just I was running stock rocker stuff. But actually, I switched over, just put the new Jessel stuff on there for rockers, because I was like, I can't believe I'm making this much power with stock rockers. Like, who would ever think of this? 15 years ago, you're going to run stock rockers making stupid power.
It's crazy.
So it's just in my head, and like, nah, this isn't possible.
Yeah, but it is.
And then also the 57 as well.
And is the 57 a grudge car too?
Yeah, he's another one too. He likes to talk, trying to to get something. Never really grudge race that thing. But I mean, again, that car, he gets in it, and he'll drive the thing. Take it out for 2-3 hours, drive it around. It makes real good power. Real good power on motor. It's a 565. And you could drive it, enjoy it. And it's cool with the Hillborn stacks. With the EFI, it's just a lot of people were kind of telling me it's not going to happen. I have a real big blade on the thing.
Yep.
And actually, my good buddy Job, they used to be from the Turbo People.
Yep.
Out of that now, and he's like, man, it'll work. And he actually helped me out a lot with that thing, and it worked out well. And it's just a great car to drive. And you go to the track, and you can go fast. I mean, I've done plenty of 565s which isn't this. I'm not a record setter or anything, but I mean, it can make 1,000 horsepower on pump gas on motor without pushing it, without going. I mean, now with head technology, I mean, I'm sure I'd like to get into something a little newer, but with the Edelbrock heads, I mean, it's very feasible. It's doable.
Yeah, the power that you can make is crazy these days. So new Hemi or LS, if you had a choice. What would you, if you needed to make...
I don't want to drag him anywhere, and I certainly don't want to help our retarded friend Fudd.
Okay.
But the fact that he has experience with the new Hemi stuff,
yep.
I'd like to hear more about this stuff. Like what things, like there's got to be things that are must changes. I mean, I've never heard of anybody doing with the Hemi, with the factory componentry, what people are doing, say, with a 5.3 or a 6.0. So, I mean, bottom end changes, pistons, valve train. I mean, there's got to be, for lack of a better term, a recipe. Like what are people doing with these things?
Well, basically, I mean, the stuff that I've done, and it's keeping it the same as the LS platform as far as change. I mean, I use a Manley stroker, crank, rods, their piston, put that together, valve springs and stuff. I mean, custom cam, depending on the application, and I know the custom cam term. I know
3/4, 11/16, whatever race cam you need.
But I've had, like I said, I mean, I've done for other shops, and I think the biggest thing with the Hemis, as far as like people don't go, is you're very, at least out here in New York or whatever, you're kind of limited to the people that actually can tune them properly. There's not many people out there like a GM computer. As far as keeping it with a factory ECU that tune them that well, there's one, very few people, actually just one person that goes around to most of the shops I know, and he's the one that's tuning for most of the people. So you're kind of, you're not, I mean, just the LS stuff is so, I guess, hoard out that's why it's so popular. And, like, again, you go to a junkyard, pick one up for, under $1,000 easily, maybe even two of them for that. Where go try and get a Hemi core that's not blown up. You're going to spend, I've seen people asking, $4,000 or $5,000 for a core. So,
wow. Yeah.
The rotatings are close price wise off the top of my head. And
yeah, they are.
So which way are you going to go? Which way are you going to go? Am I going to spend $3,000-4,000 more on a core, or can I just, and make the same power? Or maybe a little more. No, I'll just stuff more boost in it and call it a day.
It's really funny too because they've made literally millions of Hemis. I don't know what's keeping the price.
Well,
so
that's
high.
what I was just going to ask. Like, is the price that high? I mean, I think what made the GM stuff. Look, all the stuff that's cheap for the most part is out of the trucks. Like, I don't think you're going to find a motor out of a Corvette, for $500.
Agreed.
So
the 6-liter stuff is more money.
Yeah, it's all the truck stuff.
Yep.
So I wonder when you look at these things, like, I mean, he's a great guy to ask. What can you start with? Like, could you get a Hemi out of a truck?
Yeah, 5.7. But it seems like they're all a lot of money, right, Dave? I mean, same thing, right?
Definitely. I just did a 5.7 for a guy with a 14 Ram. And again, this is the horsepower it made isn't anything super special, but I mean, the thing made 760 to the tire, and this is just a 4-wheel drive truck for actually a local electrician that wanted some more power.
It's
a stroker deal and everything.
It is so funny how it did make big power.
We just throw the numbers around.
760 to the tire. I mean, that's 1,000 on a pump almost, right? Going through a 4-wheel drive truck.
I get scared saying horsepower numbers because you read all these magical numbers that people start believing and they get hypnotized into that things make. So when I say a horsepower number, I get scared to say it because people are like, oh, I read a magazine and the guy, with a 4.8, with nothing done, stock rod bolts and everything made that. Like, okay.
I know. Well, that's the world we live in, man.
Well, it's just amazing that the Hemis have retained this value. Because there's got to be a lot of those trucks crashed. I mean, there's got to be. They got to be everywhere.
Dude, I remember here when I was doing some like consulting for World, I was in New York a lot, and they were thinking about doing a late model Hemi in aluminum because Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. All their blocks are cast iron, right?
The factory ones, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember looking at numbers, and at that time there was, millions of them out in the field.
I remember that because you were telling me that a person that gets on the Hemi stuff hard right now is going to be in really good shape.
That's why I bought all those those .com names.
Yes.
That was about that. That was the time. Yeah. So, and I remember the numbers being millions, and I don't get it. I don't understand why there's still so much money, but who knows?
4-letter word.
One of my last builds, I ended up, I called the junkyard. He wanted like $5,000 or something for a core. And I ended up getting a brand new engine from the dealer, for like a killer deal for like maybe, I don't remember the exact numbers, maybe like $800 more. And I had a brand new engine.
Crazy.
So
yeah. Go figure. They got to come down at some point.
So all the late model Hemis are iron blocks, like in everything, like the cars and everything?
Yeah, all of them.
Really?
Yep. I guess they didn't want to deal with aluminum. I don't know why.
I guess not. And one of the weak points that I heard was the block. But you would think if it's an iron block, granted, there were crappy iron blocks from GM too. Sure. You didn't want to get one out of a station wagon. Just a regular junker, 350 could only going to go so far. But yeah, that's nice that they're actually iron for the stuff that we're talking about. When you're getting into these, like, again, throwing numbers around, 700 to 800, 1,000 maybe, we got more boost.
It's a lot of power. It
well,
really is.
Well, I don't know. I've been teasing Alan that the Hemi's a problem.
Yeah.
Just because there's not a lot of people out there, but now he's got somebody he can talk to.
Yeah. Dave, just so you're on board with what we're talking about, we one of the guys that is friends with Mike and Tad. We're doing drag week. He's doing a drag week car, and Mike and I are doing a drag week car. And Mike had a Corvette, and Alan has some kind of Swinger or some.
That was cold.
Christ, I know it was, wasn't it? Funny though. And he's doing a late model Hemi. He called me for a rotating assembly, but I'm sure you may be getting a call, or his engine guy will call you and try to get some help. Who knows?
Yeah, sure, anything.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, listen. You want to? You got anything on your mind you want to talk about? You want to tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, definitely, man. You give me a shout. The shop number is 516-415-7730. Yeah, just give me a shout. Facebook, Kogan Motorsports. And that's about it, man. Any questions, anything, my email's on there. message me. Definitely usually I get back. Unless it's a crazy day, a day sometimes to get back. But as far as messages, yeah.
So you get a lot of work just word of mouth, I guess, because I know you don't advertise too heavy, and I know you're busy.
No, yeah, that and I get from as far as some EFI stuff from Holley.
That's something we should talk about.
Yeah. You know what?
Bring that up.
Yeah, before we let you go, I forgot about that. My bad. Go ahead, Mike.
That was one of the main things.
Yeah.
You are the only guy in Long Island at this point that's an authorized Holley dealer and installer of the EFI stuff, correct?
Correct, yes. And if you guys have time, I'll give you a quick story on as far as the EFI, why I kind of got back into that end of it.
Absolutely.
You guys got a second? Yeah.
Yeah, go. Sorry.
I'm an engine builder, and when I was at Pat's, I was a few customers I would go racing with. So I always tinkered with EFI, and but when I went on my own, I always had people like Joe would tune stuff, and of course he moved on to a different industry now, and so the guys out here, I was having issue. I was building engines, and I wanted to concentrate on that, and customers are bringing cars to shops, and they're sitting there for a month and, even longer to get tuned. And I'm, and then it kind of is a bad position for me. So I was like, I got to kind of get back into this, the EFI stuff. And I ended up flying out to Holley, spent a couple of days out there going over stuff and doing that course they have as well, and came back and just started doing it so I can try and keep customers happy and, build an engine. You can put it in. I can support them with wiring, which 90% of the issues that people have with EFI is always wiring and stuff like that. But that's the main reason. I mean, I'm an engine builder. I can't, there's tuners that tune all day long, but the problem is I need to help the customer, and that's where I had to really get back into it.
Okay.
So I don't remember, Dave, do you have a dyno or do you use somebody's dyno?
No, there's actually, there's like 3 dynos I have within 15 minutes of me. So there's no reason. So I just use one of theirs, honestly.
Yeah. Trying to jump in that pool when there's enough people around. That's kind of
what bother.
Yeah, I agree.
And exactly. I'm not, like I said, I'm an engine builder, but I can too. I'm not, is there better people than me? Oh, absolutely. But I can get it done. And,
how good is that Holley deal? Like, how much do you like it?
Great. I mean, I'm a dealer. I mean, we ran Excel for years, which that I guess ended up finishing, going away, the whole Excel deal, the Gen 7. And just the Holley stuff is just, when I went out there, I was so amazed with the stuff it did, how to accurate, like when you tell it to do what it does. It's so expandable that I was just amazed by it. And that's why it's so user friendly as far as I'm concerned compared to a lot of other systems. And just the fact that you could upgrade firmware yourself, you don't have to start sending boxes here and there. It's an amazing system.
Let me ask you a question. I just sent my car out to Chicago to get some stuff done to it. And I still have an XL Gen 7, the dual wide, the latest one they had, but it's still, 10 years old or whatever. It's the dual wideband DFI. Should I can that thing and get a Holley, or is that still a pretty good unit?
Well, what I tell people, and you're the third person probably in the last few months asking me this, that have brand new systems that have even started their cars. The problem is if you finish wiring up your car and everything with the system and you run into a problem with the Gen 7, the Gen 7s work great because they were setting records back years ago and stuff, so you can't say that they're garbage. But the problem now is if you run into an issue with it, what do you do? Who do you go for as far as if you have a problem with the ECU, which I've had an ECU issue, but there's nobody as far as that I know or anybody else that I know knows of that you can send the box back to get serviced.
Yeah.
So now do you wire the whole system in now, and then if you have an issue, now you got to start cutting the wiring out, or you just put a new system, something modern in it?
Well, I mean, it's wired in the car.
Especially.
That part of it's done already, and there's a tune in it. But I hear you.
Well, you're going to sell that thing anyway, aren't you?
Probably.
You're a little bit of driving and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Get a GTR, not worry about it. Or a Hemi. I don't know.
How about the first Hemi GTR?
No, that won't happen. All right, so Dave, sorry about I forgot about the DFI, the Holley thing. We had a little trouble right before the show. We were kind of pre-gaming, and then something came up, and blah blah blah. But I'm glad Mike remembered and got it in. So, all right, give us the number again, just so we have it, and go ahead, fire away.
It's 516-415-7730.
Okay, and look him up on Facebook. It's Kogan Motorsports.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, listen, man. We talk quite a bit, but I appreciate you coming on, and
thanks.
Good to hear from you. If we could ever do it again, or we get some Hemi questions, maybe we'll be calling you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I'm down anytime.
Well, there's more and more interest in late model Hemi stuff. So, I mean, I actually have some people that have been talking to me about the Hemi stuff, like Alan's doing, talking to me privately on Facebook.
Yep.
So it's a good subject to talk about. That's why I wanted to bring more of that up. And that's great.
And maybe we could send him some business.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Cool. All right. Thank you, guys, and have a great evening.
All right,
too.
guys.
See ya.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
That's some credentials to come from
Hell yeah.
Barton. I mean, I'm not knocking Pat, but
No.
because Barton, this is where you say shit and you get in trouble.
Well, that's the world you were in, so you know, not Hemi, but super stock.
No, yeah, I mean Barton. I like the super stock stuff. I like super stock. I like comp. I like pro stock because to me that separates the kids from the men. You know, or we can't say that anymore, can we?
The wheat from the chaff?
I probably have to figure out the way to say that we fit into this world. But it does separate the good guys from the guys that are out there playing. I mean, super stock guys can't put on a bigger turbo.
No,
they
or
can't,
more nitrous jet.
No, they can't do this. They can't. They're more jet or
and again, not taking away from those guys because those guys are on the edge and doing their thing, but it's different means to kind of a same end.
Yeah. It is.
It's way more work.
Yeah.
Put it that way. It's just way more testing work.
I mean, the level of refinement, I mean, I think people look at pro stock and they have to understand how close these cars are. By ET, they have to understand that you can't give up 5.
No.
You know, if you give up 5, it's a problem.
No.
So super stock is very much the same way. So when a guy works at a place like Barton, you know,
you learn a lot of the stuff that isn't learned anywhere else.
Yeah, the things that you're not going to be able to pick up a textbook that's, you know, how to super stock build a Chevy.
The secrets.
And get everything. You know, you're not. Because some of the things, it's not that anybody's trying to hide it, but there's some things that have just been, I don't want to say handed down.
Yeah, but they've been handed down.
But just stuff that everybody kind of knows that they think, well, they don't know that.
Yeah.
And they don't write it down.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's a good guy. Anybody needs anything with late model Hemi stuff, I'd call him.
He is the man. They don't call him Hemi Dave for no reason.
Yeah, well, I don't know enough about him to ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, on the late model, but I didn't know they were all iron block.
Yeah, I kind of knew that. I wanted to hear more about his GTX. Damn it. I forgot about that too. That whole pre-show thing.
I was the only one working. You guys were sitting here.
That's when we were supposed to be talking about what we were going to do. And
so now it's my fault.
Well, you know it is.
Holy Christ.
You said, talk to Tad. I know what we're going to talk about. And come on, you know what talking to Tad is like.
No, explain to me.
Yeah, we know that for sure. So, Alan, if you were listening, which I thought you were, that was really cold talk. He's friends with Mike and Tad. He's a guy to talk to. You know,
he really is. He's one of them for sure. Faux show. Yeah, I think I saw in the chat that Alan's going to give Jeff his number because I guess Jeff makes all the engine calls, right?
All right, good. Now, we probably should talk about what we're going to do next week because next week is...
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a holiday. I don't have anything big planned because that would involve me going to see people.
I know, and you are an unsocial misfit.
That's when Somerville starts the cruises.
Yeah, but that's on Monday?
No, Friday. We're trying to debate if this Friday...
Was that a word?
...is going to count.
That he just said?
What?
I would love the spelling of that.
Well, we're talking about doing the podcast Monday.
Right.
Tad, so I don't think Somerville...
What I'm talking about is that going to fall into... Is it going to start that weekend, the car cruise, or is it the weekend after, the Friday after?
I'm going to vote for a night off.
Altogether?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what's going on. We've got We've got Paul Yaw.
Yep. Well, actually, it's going to be like Injector Dynamics night, hopefully.
Okay.
The following Monday.
Okay. So Injector Dynamics.
Well, let's just cool down for because I don't know none of this.
We don't know the days.
Yeah, we don't know the days, but we have some extremely high end people coming up, people that you're not going to want to miss. We also have some people that have been recommended by Paul. Luckily for me, he knows a lot of people. We have an LSX guy, a tuner. Sorry, did I say tuner? I meant calibrator.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
A calibrator. He also he's done some pretty cool stuff with calibration and with the car platforms. We have a couple of Ford guys. So for all the Ford guys out there, yeah, I know. We have a couple of pretty serious guys. We have one of them actually is a listen, I don't want to give up too much. I want this shit signed before we talk about it, Not that people sign stuff, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I want it confirmed. But so next week is open anyway.
Okay.
It's the following week that starts the
heavy stuff,
the heavy guys.
Right. But so that's why I was trying to figure out what to do for next week. I mean, honestly, next week, what I'd like to do, if anybody can do it, like maybe, I don't know if you want to do something on like, do you have plans for the weekend?
Yeah, we always have plans.
The whole weekend?
Well, for the shore, yeah.
He's got a family, so.
Yeah.
I have a life.
Oh.
I'll remind you of that next time you're saying, you know what's going on now? I'll remind you of that.
I said a life.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure it out because honestly, I'd like to get some of the guys back on.
I'm not saying, I mean, you could do the show if I'm not here.
Maybe I could have Retard Alan come in. He's usually got nothing much to do.
So it's fun.
And I'm sure his wife wants him out of the house. I can guarantee you that.
No doubt.
But I'd like to talk to Jason Dozier. He's been running his car, had a win at an event.
Yep.
Like to get him on. I'd like to catch up again with
Anthony's guy,
and it's his name is Mike too. There were 3 Mikes on that last show.
We should have every Mike that we could.
I just saw that. That's the most used name in the world, or whatever.
As it should
Michael.
be. As it should be. And I remember somebody looked it up and they're like, it means godlike, and I said, as it should.
Jesus,
like I needed that, right?
Yeah.
But I'd like to get Mike back on. Anthony's buddy. It's Mike Giovannis, I think is how you say his last name. Because we kind of cut him short because everything ran so long.
Yep.
So I'd like to get Jason to come back on and tell us where he's at because he's an 850 guy who stepped his game up.
Yep.
And we told him we'd like to get him back on. The Team 260 guys are going to be scheduling the neglection event, and they have all kinds of other stuff going.
Oh, rescheduling it?
Yeah, rescheduling it.
Okay.
So there's a couple of people that I'd like to get back on just to kind of go over,
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it could be a kind of a no-brainer show that you really don't need me for anyway.
Yeah, because we can't get it. None of the high-profile guys we were talking about can do it this Monday. So, or this weekend.
Right.
So it's all going to be starting the week after.
So they have families too, then, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's all right. Everybody has their issues.
Yep, that's true. All right, so we'll be up in the air. We'll get it. We'll get everybody posted as to what's going on.
One last thing I want to talk about.
Go.
And I know this is stupid, and I know this plays into my somewhat unique personality. I'm really pissed off they canceled Last Man Standing.
Yeah, you are.
I brought it up to you. You don't watch it, but you don't really watch any TV.
No.
You just don't watch anything.
No.
Tad.
But it was funny and good.
Yeah.
Shit you just showed me.
It's Tim Allen, which,
I like Tim Allen, but.
Yeah, but you just didn't find this particularly funny to you. It's a shame they canceled it. I had never heard of it.
Me neither.
And
so you brought it up.
Well, no, because everybody's talking about it because it got canceled because it was quote unquote conservative.
Yep.
So I checked it out, and you know what? It's funny. I like. You know what I really like? They had Jay Leno on. Tim got a 427. What, an Impala, I think. And they were talking about things. They were car guys talking about car stuff, and surprisingly, it was accurate. Because every other TV show that you see stuff on, they've got stupid names for things, or they're doing something, and you're just like, oh, God, you guys couldn't take 5 minutes and figure out at least what things are called. The guy's like, I'm working on the carburetor, and he's got a fan in his hand. So I liked the show. I thought it was good. And it got discontinued. So go check it out on Netflix. It's kind of funny.
Hey, by the way, Alan is actually saying in the chat room that that Mike and Tom have a cubic metric ton of issues. Could you imagine Alan saying that anyone has issues?
I don't really think that Alan, of all people,
He's deflecting.
Okay. I'm
Well
going
said,
to air a little bit of laundry about somebody. And of course, I'm not going to say it's Alan.
No.
But see,
That would be indiscreet.
somebody has a problem where maybe it's paranoia or they feel that everybody follows too closely to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't happen to me every day. It's happened to you?
Nope.
Does it happen to you, Todd?
But
Anyway.
I have stalkers. What?
Somebody's always tailgating this guy. Not Alan, just a guy we're talking about.
Yep.
So apparently, in one of his hostile, fits of rage, pulled into a parking lot, jumped out of his car to go confront the person who was following him, and his wife took off, left him sitting there.
That did not happen.
Yeah.
That is YouTubeable. But anyway.
So when somebody wants to say issues, hey, not saying it's Alan.
No.
There could be people that are worse off than me.
That is so awesome. So awesome.
So,
anyway.
There's a lot to those stories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But all right, well, maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe Tom won't be here. Maybe we'll figure out a day. But we'll keep you posted. We'll put something up on Facebook.
No doubt.
Facebooks.
We're not going to answer that guy on hold, huh?
No. I suggest that he forget this phone number. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next time. Thanks.
Night, everybody.
Later.